I am Mary Savoy DeSanti from the Bright Bodies program. Today's module is called Label Sense, Making Sense of a Food Label. Kelly will be teaching the class, and she's going to be teaching you how to read a food label and how to pick foods that are more nutritious for you. When you go into a store, for the most part, you should really look at the outer perimeters of the store. You have things like fruits and vegetables around the perimeters, low-fat dairy products, and low-fat meats. In the aisles are mostly the processed foods. Now, we will need to eat some processed foods, such as maybe some whole grain breads, some cereals. In this busy lifestyle today, we can't bypass all those foods altogether. So yeah, you do need to go in the inner aisles of the grocery store. So open up your book to the Label Sense section, and let's take a peek at the Bright Bodies program in action.
Okay, today we are going to be talking about making sense out of food labels. Now, food labels can tell you a lot of interesting information about the food that you're going to be eating. And when you're trying to make healthy food choices, you want to be able to know what to look at on your food label so that you understand exactly what you're putting in your body. So if you want to open up your workbook to page 1551, and we'll get started about some of the main things that you can look for on a food label. So now, first of all, a calorie is a means for measuring energy. So when you're looking at cutting your calories, that's going to be something that's very important for weight loss. So now we're going to talk a little bit about macronutrients. Now, macronutrients do have calories, and there are three types. They're the main nutrients. And does anyone have an idea of what those three would be? Yeah.
Carbs.
Great. Yep, that's one of them.
Protein.
Yep, and there's one more.
Yeah, fat.
Perfect. Yes, those are the three. There's also things that are called micronutrients. Now, they're the smaller nutrients. They actually don't have calories, and they're your vitamins and your minerals. So like vitamin C, calcium, things like that. So let's think about what we look at when we're looking at a food label. I'm actually going to pass out a couple food labels to you guys. And if you want to look on with me, you kind of want to be some sort of a scientist in your kitchen. Okay, you might ask a question. Okay, is this healthy? Is this not healthy? The one way to figure that out is to look at all of the information that they put on it for you. So first of all, think back at the non-diet approach. One of the things that's so important is your portion sizes. So look on all of those different foods that you're looking at right now and see what one serving size is. That would be an appropriate serving size. So when you have your bowl of cereal in the morning and you think that you fill up your bowl and it's 2 or 3 cups of cereal, is that really an appropriate serving size? Well, if you're not quite sure, you can look right at your box and it'll tell you. It's probably about 1 cup of cereal would be appropriate. Also, you can look at things such as, first of all, your fat. Now, fat is a concentrated calorie macronutrient. That means that where carbohydrates and proteins have 4 calories per gram, fat actually has 9 calories per gram. And there's also different types. Saturated fat is actually very unhealthy, and it's something that you should really minimize in your diet, and that will be noted on the food labels under the fat. There's also cholesterol, which is like a type of fat, and that too can lead to heart disease, and you shouldn't have more than 300 milligrams a day. There's also other things on that label, such as carbohydrates. Now, when you look at your carbohydrates, can you tell me what is one thing that you think is significant that's listed under carbohydrates?
Sugar.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Now, sugar is something that I like to call an empty calorie. That means that it really doesn't have any vitamins or nutrients or anything that's good for your body besides just that sugar, that glucose and the calories. What about fiber? Do you have fiber on there?
Dietary fiber.
Yep, dietary fiber is great. It's something that you want to look for on your food labels because not only does it keep you full, but it keeps your digestive tract healthy and moving. Some other things that we can look at are going to be, you can look at your sodium levels. Now for blood pressure, you want to make sure that you're not having too much sodium. 3,000 milligrams per day is the very maximum amount. It's very important. And also you can look at your protein. Protein's needed to have healthy muscles and other functions for your body. So now that we got that, you can also look underneath to the ingredients. Look at your ingredients. Tell me, does anyone have anything that you find interesting when you're looking at the ingredients? Now note that whatever's listed first is in the highest amount. So whatever the main ingredients are, they're going to be listed first. And then things that are in very trace amounts, they're going to be listed at the end. Does anybody see sugar really high up on your list?
Sugar is the #1 ingredient.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anything interesting? Any high fructose corn syrup, things like that? Any words that you can't pronounce?
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad because I don't know what it is.
And that's confusing, right? What I think is when you look at a list of ingredients and you can pronounce everything in it, that's usually not too bad, you know? It should make you feel better about what you're eating than if you can't even pronounce half of the ingredients that are in it. Now, let's put this to practice, okay? And we're going to practice with the labels that you have in front of you. Now, remember that fat has 9 calories per gram. How do you figure out how many calories from fat are in the product that you have in front of you? So let's talk about the ingredients a little bit more, okay? When you're looking at the ingredients on your food label, the first 4 or 5 listed are the main ingredients of what you're eating. And after that, those are the smaller amounts of things that are also included. Now, when you see anything that ends in an OSE, that means that it's sugar. So fructose, cellulose, maltose, all of those OS words, that's just a fancy way of saying sugar. So now, let's look at this. 1 potato, okay? This is the food label for a potato. Now, one thing that I can tell you about this is there's only 1 ingredient, okay? It's just a potato. There's no fat. All that fat that you put on it, that's just added. There's no fat, no cholesterol, no sodium. It's carbohydrates, there's some fiber, and there's a little bit of protein. Now these here are your micronutrients that I was telling you about. There's no calories in these, but this is all of the goodness that you're getting from that potato. Now let's do a couple more examples of how to calculate the percentage of calories that are coming from fat. Now, does anyone have a food label that they think would be a good example?
Eggo waffles.
Okay, great. Thick and fluffy Eggo waffles. And what is your serving size?
Is 1.
1 waffle, and how many calories?
Is 170.
Okay, so we have 170 calories. How many grams of fat?
7.
Okay, so we've got 7 grams of fat times 9 calories per gram. That's going to be 63. Now you've got your 63 divided by 170. This comes out to 37% calories from fat. Now, since we said that 30% and lower is a good choice, what do you think about this for 1 waffle?
Not a good choice.
Not a good choice.
Great, too high in fat, right? So now let's do another example. I think you had a good example, right? Let's look at those granola bars. So we're gonna look at one serving size as 2 of them, okay? So for 2 of those Nature Valley granola bars, how many calories are there?
190.
190. How many grams of fat?
Calories from fat?
Just grams of fat.
12. 6 grams.
Perfect. So you've got 6 grams times 9 calories per gram equals 54. Okay, so we've got 54 calories from fat. We're going to take 54 divided by the 190, and it's going to come to, that's right. Now, does anybody else have another example that you'd like to do together?
Actually, if you don't mind me asking, are sugar-free a better choice?
You know what? Sometimes they can be, but sometimes they can also be a lot higher in fat. So let's look at those together, okay? So now, for what is the serving size?
1 cookie,
Okay, and now how many calories?
80,
So we've got 80 calories. How many total grams of fat?
5 grams,
Now we're going to multiply that by what?
9,
Yeah, because there's 9 calories per gram of fat. That's going to give us 45 calories from fat. You're going to take the 45 and divide it by 80.
hold on 1 second. Oh, I get it. It's 56%.
Great! $56. What do you think about that?
It's not a good choice.
I think, wow, that is a lot, okay? That is a very high percentage. So now that we've looked at this sugar-free chocolate chip cookie, what do you guys think?
I think that's a surprise because my mom always buys sugar-free cookies because she said that they're better for you.
Well, now I know better.
That's great, yeah, absolutely. And now that you know how to look at food labels, you can really learn about what you have in your pantry and maybe better choices that you can make the next time that you go to the grocery store.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Like, if it says sugar-free, like I have a sister that's diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that bad for a diabetic? You know, like even if you're like at risk of being diabetic, is that bad for you?
To have sugar-free?
Yeah.
Well, when you're looking at these sugar-free cookies, when it comes to diabetes, you have to count your carbs and your sugars. So the fact that they are high fat isn't necessarily going to affect their diabetes, but it could affect their heart.
Mm.
So sometimes the two go together. So high fat in general isn't really going to be the best choice, but a sugar-free variety that maybe isn't so high in fat could be a good option. Does anybody have any questions?
Like the calories from fat, would that like be added? Like, say if it was 110 calories, then it would be 10 calories from fat. Would that be the 120 calories, or would that be like?
No, actually it's all included. So the total calories is going to be what's listed on top. And then when we were doing the math, that's how you can figure out what percentage of that is coming from each of the different macronutrients. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've learned about food labels and how to kind of investigate what exactly is in your food, you can look at what is in your pantry now, look at the ingredients, look at exactly what is in your food, how much fat is in them, and whether or not it's going to help you meet your goals. And then the next time that you go to the grocery store, you can start looking for healthier alternatives. You can educate yourself by knowing how to read your food labels.